Hello, Internet. I'm excited. You know, it's an old joke here, actually, at Legacy. If I don't say to almost say the client, the guest in front of me that I'm excited, then some of them ask me, why are you not excited? And then I have to explain that. But actually, I am. We have an officer here. He was from 3-2 Battalion, but he actually did a lot of things besides 3-2 Battalion. And there's going to be more than one episode. I must also ask you for a little bit of patience. People are building here at the hotel. You might be hearing some noise in the background. I apologize if that happens. Can't stop the building. It has to carry on. You know, we've got a new YouTube channel for the building alone with me and Rebecca, or Rebecca and me, and just showing progress, things like that. And then we're also struggling a bit with the internet in South Africa. And let me say to all of you, I'm very glad that the Springboks actually won. I'm very surprised about it, but thank you. We're grateful they won. And I'm sure that there was a lot of bubblers. I could see it when I was recording. And I could see on the views at Legacy that people were more interested in the rugby, but I'll forgive you for that. So what we're talking here is history, and we're talking about a man who I know about. I've known about him before he got hold of me. It's Lieutenant Colonel Steph Naude. Sir, welcome here. Thank you for talking to us. Thank you for being willing to speak in English, because there's a lot of people out there who don't understand Afrikaans very well anymore. And by public demand, most people ask us to speak English wherever possible. And so that's what we're doing. May I ask you, sir, were you a career soldier or were you called up by national service? What happened? We're listening.
Yes. Good day, Koos. Thanks for the opportunity. Firstly, I was national service, and you know, I wanted to make the best out of my military career. So yes, I did my national service after school, and then during infantry school leader phase, there was a selection for the 3-2 Recce group. So that's the courses and the agreements for that was that we had to sign on short service, which was an additional year. So I did that, and eventually I went to study for a year or two, and I decided, no, I'm going to become a career soldier. So that's where things changed. But let's just start from the beginning. I was born in Potgietersrus, the northern province. I grew up in Rustenburg, northwest province. And yes, did my primary school years there and matriculated there. Just my mother was a primary school teacher, and yeah, the school where we went to was called the Vastrap School, and from about, I would say, standard 4, which is about 10 years old, just across the street there was my best friend stayed there. His parents were both high school teachers, and I noticed next door, or their neighbor, was an old, I wouldn't say grumpy, but he was sort of a very secretive guy. Sometimes he would come there with the Army Land Rover, what we call the Gary, and he had 2 vicious Dobermans. You know, those ears were cut like those, like a German Hitler type of dog, and you couldn't come near. So we found out that this guy was a captain in the mines, and his name was Eddie Viljoen. But we didn't know that. I mean, Eddie Viljoen is just a mine captain. So later on, you know, they wear these Danitron, those skit pit berets with the green So that was around about 68. And then later on, you would come more often with the brown Land Rover. And that made me more interested. So eventually I was in high school, and in about the 75, 76, I noticed that he's not in the his green beret. He was wearing a camouflage beret. And I said, gosh, that I want to wear that beret someday or one day. So, you know, of course, my life was very adventurous. I joined the voortrekkers, started as a pen copy, you know, and we did camps in primary school. We had a wonderful leader, Wim Classy. And in high school, all my friends decided, no, they done with voortrekkers. And high school didn't have a voortrekker group. So I stayed on with Wim Classy. And Wim Classy around about 75, 74, he said to me, I must take over one of the groups, the youngsters, which was, I think, then Standard 4. So a friend of mine, Gerrit van der Merwe, he was my 2IB, and we took over these guys. In that time, my father bought a farm near Magaliesburg along the Magalies mountain. So that made me more adventurous. I just wanted to get to the farm, either bicycle or whatever. And sometimes we even walked to the farm. It was about 30 kilometers from Rustenburg, the town. So that was my playground. I was free when I was on the farm. So then I matriculated. I went to 11 Command, which was in Kimberley. I don't think they exist anymore. And my company commander there was a Major Ferreira. But we didn't know this guy really. We knew him when he formed us up during basics. And he said, well, you're going to do your 3 months, etc. And after that, we will have a talk to you again, select. And after basics, I wanted to go to Special Forces. But he just called me, he said, no, you are going to do junior leaders at Oudtshoorn. So off we went. We got there, and well, I must say, 2 of my cousins was in infantry school. So it was sort of okay, I'll do it. In fact, my one cousin was a lieutenant there in Foxtrot Company. So I ended up in Alpha Company, Platoon 1. And yeah, there I had the biggest surprise. 4 guys from Vrede in the Free State, but the one guy was huge. I think they called him Tarzan because he was like 6'4", 115 kg, and he was, I think he was captain of SA teams, school teams. So this guy was very intimidating. And, you know, when you do PT, nobody wanted to go close to him. So he would just grab me and say, come on, let's go. And I just thought, oh, well, that's going to be my next 6 months. I have to end up with this guy. And we punished each other. We had 2 corporals. Ure Venter and Bridges, Corporal Bridges. Ure was very tough, and I think within 4 months, he was sent to DB because he punished one of the other platoon's troops. So Ure got 2 years DB, and we felt sorry because, you know, the guy he punished, he deserved it. So, but anyhow, we left for a border trip. We came back after the border trip, and during the border trip, I was selected as a section leader, and I made Mr. Tarzan my gunner. We didn't have, we had I forgot that, not the, I think it was the Bren LMGs, yes. So he was my Bren gunner. I think we were lucky. We were the only platoon or section that had made contact just north of Charlie Tower. So we killed one terrorist while they went through the Yati. And we came out, we had to carry the tur, and then there was some things, people complaining too much weight, and well, anyhow, I took Tarzan's Bren. I said, come, let's just go. So anyhow, that was the bush trip. We got back, and it was sort of a Colot phase where you started giving instruction, because that will be your, as a junior leader, it's going to be your function for your next year. And in that time, there was units coming to do selection. I would say special units, because the Parabats were there, and 3-1 Battalion, I think the Recces as well. And then again, here comes this commandant with a camo beret. I said, but this is now the 3rd time, and I want to join. So he said, yeah, you know, we need about, I'd say, 100 people for the companies, and they will be lieutenants and corporals, but we also need 20 guys for 3-2 Recce group. They will be pre-selected at infantry school, and then they will sign an agreement, because we will have to do Recce selection in the Caprivi, and we will do some courses like survival, bushcraft, and also minor tactics. So yes, we did it. I fortunately passed, and they said to us, look, before you fly up, you have to sign short service. So we got a sort of a pass, and now we had to convince our parents, because we're not 21. I think the only guy maybe was Frans Fourie. He was already 21 years. So we left for home, and I just begged my parents, please, please, this is my opportunity, and I will have save enough money so I can do studies and all that. And eventually they signed. Came back, and we flew up to Rundu. And in Rundu, okay, now all of us, even 3-1 Battalion, we all flew in one floor seat. And we arrived there at Rundu. There was an old Portuguese Sergeant Major, Sergeant Major Rosa. He did the admin and personnel. He welcomed us and clawed in, signed in, and all those things. I think they gave us rifles as well, R1s, but no ammunition. So the next was a trip to Buffalo. So we were all on this sawmill. And the next moment, I think, just as we entered Buffalo, all hell broke loose, and they ambushed us. Our own people that we're gonna join made a welcome party for us, and they ambushed us. We had no ammunition. We couldn't shoot back. We just lied and, got through it. And the next moment, Pep van Zyl stood there and he treated us on, form up, and blah, blah, blah. The next moment, here comes Echo Victor. He was a major then, Major Eddie Viljoen. And I recognized him. I mean, he had that, like a Hitler moustache, and the old mine captain I know. And now he's a major, he's a big man now. So they divided us, and all the platoon or company guys, we were separated from them, and Pep took us away outside. We didn't even see the base or the bar, nothing. We didn't eat with nobody. So we just lived there in the bush, and like 2 or 3 days, he formed us up and said, "Are you guys ready?" No food, no nothing. They took everything. They gave us a map, compass, and said, now, and yeah, the Recce selection started. I think we left in Bedfords covered, and we were blindfolded. They took us out, and I think over the Bogani Bridge, and then we went south towards Botswana border. And then he just said to us, "This is your next RV, so-and-so, you must reach there. If you don't reach, then you're out." So we were divided into, and I must mention, it wasn't only the 20 guys from infantry school that were pre-selected. When we arrived at Buffalo, there was more people, I think about 30 more from the companies. And I must mention, there was also a guy by the name of Tony Vieira. Now, Tony was, he was one of the most senior members of 3-2 Battalion. He was a warrant officer too, and he was promoted by Colonel Jan Breitenbach because he could operate his own company. There was no leader group in his company. I'm talking about a white leader group. So there was one unfortunate thing that happened to Tony. There was other black warrant officers, but they just walked in the base. I can remember Geraldo and many others. But so anyhow, Tony said that why does only him as a warrant officer go to the bush? The others must also go. So the people didn't like that. They threw him in a jail. Now the jails in 3-2 Battalion is not a normal. It's a huge hole. It's the size of the room, 3 by 3 or so, but it's about 3 meters deep, and then poles on top. So you can't get out of that jail. And I think RSM Pep van Zyl made a deal probably with the commanders and said, listen, let's just give Tony a chance. Maybe he will be good for special forces or whatever. So Tony, he helped us tremendously when we started with selection. And then I think after the first week, Tony disappeared. And nobody knew what happened to Tony Vera. But he ended up at Fort Doppies, did the selection there, and he served in one reconnaissance, Recce. So then I think there were about 16 or 18 that made the selection, and most of them were from the initial group. So then we started with I think it was minor tactics first, and he was then CO, candidate officer, but he was Andre Diedrichs, and with him was Sergeant Louis Klopper, not Jaapie Klopper. They both already had honoris cruxes, and I think there was another guy, Fani Fonse. So we did a very tough minor tactics course, but I think they were probably the best instructors that we could have had. So it was a rough time. We still, you know, it's as if you're in survival mode the whole time. So after minor tactics, Sergeant Major Dewald de Beer came with some other people, and we did some tracking and bushcraft, survival, etc. That was also about 3 weeks. And this was close to Christmas. And we went to Buffalo and we prepared our kit, and now we're going to Mahoney. We didn't know anything about Mahoney, but Mahoney is an operational base in Ovamboland. I think it's the most eastern base of Ovamboland, close to 5-4 area. The base next to us was in Congo, and there was always a lot of insurgents there. So we arrived there. That was the base that Major Eddie Viljoen, he was then a commandant as a camper. He was in charge of Rustenburg Command. That was his first base when he joined 32 Battalion. And when we came there, Rustenburg Command didn't have that post anymore because Echo Victor was now a permanent force member. So that was taken over by Western Area or Carltonville Command, but also or mine captains that would take charge while they're doing their camps on the border. But they were wonderful commanders, and they never gave us problems. So we got there, and the next moment, there's a grumpy red-haired staff sergeant, and his name was Blue Kelly. And he talked strange. I've never met Australians or New Zealanders, but this kind, you know, all that. And we found out that he's a Australian. And to us, it was strange. And then he even came and he said, no, he's in charge of us now. And, well, at that stage, we were still COs, candidate officers. But our corporals had their rank. And he started to give us, oh, and with him, there was also a couple of other, let's call them straight mercenaries. And that was Ron Gregory. He was ex-SAS, but the British SAS. There was also about 3 or 4 Portuguese commandos. I think I can see them. I'll come to the name. The one was Manuel Gaspar, and I'll come to the other names. But very nice people, very experienced. So we did some platoon weapons, mortars, a lot of shooting on the range. We also did some support weapons, recoilless guns, anti-tank, and we also did some DEMs. Then, okay, let me just explain to you how the Recce group worked. We trained together. Now, after our selections, this was the merge in phase where we have to get used to our people. We have to learn their language, their culture, everything. So that on its own was very challenging. So we were given a tent, each team. So in the end, we had 8 teams. And then 3 troops per leader group. So the amount was 5 in a Recce group. And we slept together in 5x5 tents. Each one had their bed. We had our meals together. We shared the ablution, everything together. There was no separation between us. And when it's time to do guard service, everyone pushed this guard service and stuff like that. At once I caught a guy, my guy, Thomas Lorindo, who was sleeping, and I took his rifle from him. And when he woke up, he was very, very surprised. And I said to him, you know, Thomas, I don't know where's your weapon, but you'll have to go and explain tomorrow. So I took over his shift, and the next morning, Blue came to me and he called me Mr. because he didn't, we already were then second lieutenants. Blue, I didn't like him and he didn't like me. And he just called me lieutenant. So, no, he called me sir, Mr. I called him a few other names as well. I'm not going to go into that, but anyhow, he said to me, go get yourself 2 sandbags. Now, our base had quite a long airstrip. I reckon about 1.5 k's. And he said to me, well, you better go goose walk twice. So it's up, down, it's 3 kilometers and up, down again. So when I came down, I think it was, Frans Fouries, sergeant was picked ace, and he was a sergeant. He was one of the only guys that came from the 3-2 selection. And he came from the companies and he made the selection. So I came back and Blue told him to watch me do my PT. And I came back and there's a black guy on the wall. I said, but what are you doing here? He said, no, the staff said, you must see that I do finish my PT. And I said, that's not going to work. So I took my sandbags and Blue's tent was next to France Fourie. So Blue said I must pack the sandbags around his tent. And one day I'm going to finish packing all his whole tent. And I decided, no, I'm not going to pack it on your tent. So I opened it up on his bed and his desk and everywhere. So he wasn't very happy with me, but I mean, that's it. Then at one stage, Blue would do inspections and expect us to salute him and all that. I didn't fall for that. And at one stage, we did mortar training inside the base. I think Blue's tent was there, and then behind there was France Fourie's tent, and then there was a trampoline in the northwestern corner of Mahoney base. So we had the mortars up there. By then, I think we just got new boots. And Chaka, he was one of the best troops. He was in France Fourie's team, and they were the best team. He was a big guy, and he also fought the battle when pre-battle, pre-match, when Muhammad Ali and the fight in Kinshasa or Rumble in the Jungle, whatever it was. So Chaka was a boxer and he was a big guy. And the boots that they issued him was too small. And he tried to wear it, and then he had blisters, and he went to France and he said, Lieutenant, I can't wear these boots. France said, okay, just wear sandals. We are in the base, so don't worry. Anyhow, the next moment, Blue came out there and he jumped on Chaka and he kicked him. And why are you wearing sandals and all that? But France said, but I told him. He said, he will not. And the next moment, well, he got the same sandbag PT as me. Bruce walked up and down the airstrip. And Chaka came back. He dropped the sandbag there by Blue's tent. He went into his tent and he grabbed his rifle. I think it was an RPK. Could have been his R1. And he cocked it and he went for Blue's tent. Anyhow, the other guys saw this, his teammates, and they tried to stop him. And the next moment, I think Blue said, Chaka ran away. And he told us we must follow Chaka and catch him and whatever. Well, basically we refused because it wasn't necessary. So Chaka just, he had to hide for 2-3 days. And eventually somebody picked him up by the rubbish dump, and he was handcuffed and put under the trampoline. And then after 2 days, Blue said to one of our corporals, he told him, pack your stuff, get this and that, and they took Chaka away. That's the last we saw Chaka, and I think Frans mentioned that in his time when he was with the 3-2 Recce group. By then, we had a new commander by the name of Commandant Dion Ferreira. And then I realized, but he was major when I did my basics. So I sent a signal to Rundu to request an urgent meeting with the new commander. So he came there, and he didn't even realize, he knew about the Recce group and that we were new, but he didn't realize there was a staff sergeant in charge of us, number one, and number two, that he was a foreigner. So immediately, Dion Ferreira or Falcon said, you are out here. We don't want mercenaries. So Blue Kelly left. I think he went to 5 Recce. But he wasn't the operator. And then things started to normalize, and Frans Fourie took charge of the Recce group. We did some really, initially not very big operations, but later on it went, it intensified. I think this was now right by the first few months in 1979, I would say February, March. And then in May, a Dakota just arrived, and they said, no, they want two teams. There was no signal, just you must load 2 teams and we fly to Ondangwa. So there we were briefed by Captain Drew. I think he was at Fort Ref, in charge of intelligence at the Recce base there. And we left to Ombalantu. It was in 5-2 battalions area. And we met up there with a Major Chris Serfontein, or what we called him the Swart Hand. So he gave us a briefing and a task, and said, okay, around about northwest of us, there was a base, suspected SWAPO base of about 60, and that was near Nolila or Kuamatu area. And we have to do a Recce there. So it was me and Willie Botha, and we had this Sergeant Ron Gregory with us, just as the more experienced guy, because we were still sort of junior then. And I remember the Recce's always said to us, the Diddies, if you do a job, make sure you have some support. You must have choppers, you must have top cover. If there's no choppers, and also for Casevac, so if there's no choppers, get imps, get whatever. So we insisted for 2 days that they give us imps on cockpit standby. And then we infiltrated by foot. And I think it was about 30, 40 kilometers inside. And when we started, you get that Mopani shrub with, you know, like clay soil. And it rained a lot. I think the whole time that night we walked in water, in all those shanas. It was just full of water. So it wasn't easy, but the only positive was that we didn't leave any tracks. But you could hear us miles away. And so by, I reckon, 3 or 4 that morning, we were close to the base we were going to Recce. So we decided, okay, there wasn't even a place to sleep. The 12 of us just got a huge anthill, and we slept around the anthill. We couldn't sleep. You just sit there and close your eyes. So by first light, we decided, okay, now let's move out and form hides so that the 2 teams can do the recce. So as we moved out, my corporal, Gavin Mon, I think we didn't even walk 10 minutes, and the next moment just shots. And there was two swapus. They were probably on a patrol or whatever. Killed the one, and yeah, he got storages on his weapon, and the other one ran away. So then we realized we are close to the enemy. I reckon 500 meters. And we said, okay, we have to not evacuate, but just, we are compromised. We will have to get out clear, make bombs, and then see what's going to happen. So, yeah, Gavin took that one weapon from the guy, and as we moved, but south, we got into another contact with about 10 people. That was right at the kraal. And after that, we realized, no, we have to get out of here. Still no radio comms. And we moved. There was a lot of kraals there, a lot of population. We had to get out into the bush. Because wherever you get a kraal, they inform the enemy, and they will pick us up. So we moved what we thought was a safe area, and the next moment, as Willie made comms with the HF means, and I had a radio just for the imps. We also had our small VHF sets, but I think my radio was a A50 something, but it's a UHF where you call the imps. And this thing was quite heavy, so I'm calling on that means, and nothing. The next moment, all hell break loose. And that, I think 40, 50 from that base north came, and they attacked us. So we just kept our heads low, and it's for the first time, I can't tell you, but I didn't know you can speak to the enemy. But that is how the 3-2 guys fight. They speak to the enemy because they know the enemy and they know their languages. So I just hear them talking to the enemy, and the enemy tells, we know you are a small group, man. We know we're going to hit you hard now. And then the troops would say, oh, really? Come, let's see. And that's how it started. I said, it's just, I can't believe this. So in the end, we had a few battles there, but still no imps on cockpit standby. And the next moment, I had a small means, my A72, and I heard somebody call me. And it sounded, when a chopper guys, they speak differently. It's not like a normal call. And I could hear as a chopper guy, and he identified him as a chopper guy. And he asked me, are you the guys where all the smoke and the crap happens? I said, yeah. He says, well, I can see you. You're about 30 k's in. You need help. I said, yes. We asked for imps. He says, oh, nothing. But let me see. I'll call them and let them come in. I said, but we're here for a long time now already. You must get them vlamgatte up here quickly. So then we already had, I think, 2 or 3 guys wounded, one of them very seriously. And in the end, we heard that the imps are coming. So for the first, normally you have to do a course, what they call a FOO, Forward Observations Officers course. And then they teach you how to do a FLOT, a front line of own troops, where you throw a few smoke grenades, but it must be a red in the front and a green where your own troops are and a yellow whatever. So they just taught us, they gave us a crash course. You have to throw those 3 and then the imps will come in. And well, we did it. Luckily, we did it correct. And the imps came in. They bombed the rest of them. And we pulled out, made a DZ or landing zone for the choppers. And then I realized, yes, but I'm sore. And they shot, I was going to drink water. And when I got the water, my water bottle was empty. And I looked, it was full of holes, and I had a small wound on the side. So I said, fuck, I can still make it. But you know what? I want to go with my Casavax. And I also want to have a word with this Major Serfontein, because he promised us imps on cockpit standby, and there was no imps on cockpit standby. So I got there, I saw that the Casavax, our troops were treated well, and then I went for a shower. We had Black is Beautiful on, and put my old browns back on, and I tried to see this Major Serfontein. He wouldn't see me, and I went to the bar, because I know by 5 he will be in the bar. The barman said to me, hey, Lieutenant, you can't be in the bar. I said, why not? No, the rule is the major must first be in the bar, then the others can come. I said, no. Just give me a beer. I'm waiting for your major here. So this Major Chris Serfontein came in, and he wasn't very happy. And the next moment I asked him, but Major, why didn't you have that imps on cockpit standby? And he started, no, but you know what? You guys stuffed up my whole operation, and look now, you failed in your recce and this and that. I said, you know, sir, you would never have done that operation anyhow, because it's outside, it is outside of your boundaries. Your boundaries are inside Southwest Africa. Only we can operate on the other side. So we would have done your operation anyhow. And the choppers confirmed, I think there was 26 or so dead. So that was half of the base. So then he changed, and he said to me, you know what, Lieutenant, I was also in the recce's. I said, no, we're not in the recce's. He says, yeah, but he also, he was with the hunter groups before the recce's. I said, sir, so what? You know, we just wanted imps on cockpit standby. That's all. And he just, well, we had a couple of beers, and we didn't do any more operations in that area. So we returned. I think that's the first time we had leave in about 7 months. So when we came back to O'Mahony, it was time for leave. We packed up, and from O'Mahony, it's 250 kilometers to Rundu. And when you get there, you still have to get your trip authority or your ticket to go on leave. Let me have a drip. So waited for Sergeant Major Rosa, but by the time we got the trip authority, there was no plane. They were all left. So we sat there with this, and we can't, the next plane will be in probably next week or 3 or 4 days. And every day you lose, even if it's traveling time, you get less leave. So, you know, in 3-2 before my time, and during the old Bravo group, 3-2 Battalion or Bravo group had a very bad reputation for stealing. We were bad, very bad. But there was a reason, because we didn't have vehicles. We didn't have a budget. So then you organized, and we organized a Land Rover. We stole it somewhere from a vehicle park, and we decided, that's it. Now we're going to Grootfontein. There's plenty of aircraft there. So we left for Grootfontein. There were 5 of us. I think, yeah, it was Willie Botha, the other second lieutenant, Gavin Mon, Mike Kiley, Piet Norkeer, the guy who wrote the book, The Terrible Ones. He wrote a few books. He was also with me in infantry school, the same company. So we got to Rundu, hired the Gary, and off to see if we can find aircraft. They said, no, sorry, not in 2 or 3 days. And they issued us train tickets. I said, train tickets, that's going to take us another week we will never get home by that time, you know. So, worst case, we walked out, the Rundu base was just off the main road, the north-south, 2-map Windhoek road. And I must say one thing, we had our ball bags, you know, the big, we put all your kit in. And we had our R1s with us, with a magazine of rounds. So those R1s were just sticking out the blitz, the muzzle brake. And we're standing there by the T on the main road, but we didn't have berets on, just our browns. And the next moment, a Toyota Corolla stopped there. And I looked and I saw it's an officer, and he was a full colonel. I grabbed for my beret, and I put my beret on, and the colonel saw me. And when I saluted him, he said, Jan Breitenbach's men. I said, yeah. He says, climb in. So we went back to Grootfontein. He said, why didn't you help these guys? And he got his personnel, he got a driver, and he said, I'm taking you guys down to Windhoek. I said, Colonel, can I phone my parents? He says, why? I said, no, my aunt, she stays in Windhoek, and she can probably help us with, transport. He says, yeah, phone. I said, Dad, we've got problems. We're on our way for leave, but we missed all the aircraft. Can we go and sleep there by your sister in Windhoek? He says, wait, I'm going to phone her, but here's her number. And when you get there in Windhoek, phone her. All right, the next moment, we got this driver, chauffeur, and off we go. We got a few beers, but we were so tired. It was late afternoon, and we slept most of the road. Got into Windhoek, and yeah, I think the driver took us straight to my aunt's home, and she had beds ready. We slept there, and before we slept, she said, "Come, bring us all your trip authorities, those little train tickets." Now I'm wondering what's she gonna do with this? She's not army. She can't do nothing for us. And that morning she left. She told us, sleep late, don't worry. She came back by midday with SAA tickets, South African Airways. We flying back in 2 hours on a jumbo jet. We couldn't believe this. But anyhow, now we washed, we get ready, and hey, we are flying SAA. Nobody, it didn't even, you can't even imagine that. So off we went to the airport, and we phoned all our families and friends and said, look, we're landing that time. Hey, but you should have seen us when we stepped out of that aircraft with R1s, and the chest was just that big. And anyhow, so we had leave, and it was nice. But the second week, you're done with the family. You sort of want to go back to the bush or just meet with your buddies. So we kept contact. But I had two major tasks to do in my leave, and that would have been the second part of the leave. The first thing is my troops gave me all their danger pay, which is a lot, and they saved that to buy for their wives and girlfriends some nice things. Now there was a catalog, a color catalog. I don't know where they got it from. Probably for a post thing, but it had all these nice women clothes. But even the models on the catalog was black ladies, and the place was somewhere in Hillbrow, Braamfontein, the shop. So on the catalog it was marked that type of lingerie, panty or bra, they want 2 of that size triple B and 10 of that. And so I left with the catalog and the money. Got there is no such a shop. So I had to walk around and find a shop. Now I'm a white man in this black area and I'm looking for lingerie. So it was quite quite a experience. But my second task was, we didn't have any proper kit. We used the old webbing for our operations. It was not good. It's substandard. I mean, you can't get a AK magazine into an R1 pouch. That's impossible. And our boots were not good. The backpack. So with all my years in the voortrekkers and hiking and camping, I had a Camp Trails backpack. It was about 75 liters and of volume, and it was a day glow orange color. So that was my first problem. I had to just camouflage this thing. So, in the bush, in the war, it's not going to work, but the idea is good. So anyhow, I did that, and I got Canadian hiking boots. These were all imported when I was doing a lot of hiking. And then I also got some nice socks and all my other hiking gear, a little stove and this and that. So, at least when I go back, I want to be a bit comfortable, especially if you have to carry your HF radio and a small radio. So I organized that, and I met up with my team members, Gavin and Mike, and we left back for Rundu. So let me just, then we had a lot of operations with 3-2 Battalion, with the companies. And we sort of allocated into companies. They do their cycle, 6-week operation, then go back to Buffalo, retrain, come back. And I work more with Alpha Company and Alpha and Delta Company. But sometimes that all of those guys would come past a Mahoney base and for their trooping. It was sort of a transit camp. And we started to know the other, and if the platoon leaders, those that you didn't know, you start to get to know them better, especially if we worked in the companies. Then at one stage, they called me. We were preparing for an operation. Our ops officer was Major Stefans van der Walt. His son is now the VA chairman. And then he told us to go down to Ilundu and pick up a new company commander for Alpha Company. And that guy was Sam Heap. Sam is a very big guy, and was already I'd say a few years our senior, but still he was a full loot, and we were second lieutenants. But when we came through to pick him up, Oppies and I didn't have our pips on. We just dressed in our browns and said, Lieutenant so-and-so, come, let's pack up. And Major van der Walt told us, don't even make comms, just pick him up and come straight. And on the way, Sam stopped us and he says, hey, we must make comms. I said, no. Oh, first we must stop. I said, why do you want to stop? No, we must make comms. I said, no, we're not making comms. We make comms when we get there. Yes, but he's commander. I said, no. So we stopped. He says, take out the radio. I said, no. I don't want to make comms, so I'm not taking the radio out. So we formed around the fence. We in the bush there. There's only 4 of us. So we told him, look, you're wasting our time. He looked at the radio. He couldn't even, he didn't know what radio it was and how to set it up. So I said, see, I told you, you're wasting our time. Let's just go. We got there and we operated well with Sam, and he started to know the 3-2 way of, it's not the same as any other infantry battalions or whatever. So anyhow, I think the same happened with Julius Kratz. I had to pick him up, the same base, the same area, and I introduced him to Delta Company. And he did very well with Delta Company. And I'll come to it later, in about 80, August 80, I had the privilege to relieve old Julius Kratz, temporary as a company commander. So I took, in the late 80s, I took over Delta Company, and Koos Crocodile, who passed away, he was a sergeant at that time. And I think that was basically my last operation in 3-2, but just to come back to 79, at one stage, they ordered all the companies to move out to Southwest, and there was a big propaganda media thing about no, for 80 kilometers width and 50 kilometers north, no movement All the companies, own troops, own forces must come out. Even families must evacuate that area. It was a no man's land. And the idea was to get SWAPO as far back as possible so that they can't infiltrate that easy. So we had from Enhana 2 Puma helicopters and Alouettes, and we were two recce groups, me and Zach Garrett, Paul Garrett, whom you interviewed, I think, also at the Kalahari. So Zach and I had the 2 6-man teams, and he would go a direction and me the other way. So it was just scorch earth. If you see anything, you just shoot. And that was probably for 2 or 3 months. And we got out from there. We did a end of 79. Another Dakota arrived there at O'Mahony. And again, they wanted two teams. And it was me and Oppie's team. It was late in November, almost end of November. And they flew us to Ondangwa. Again, briefed by Captain Drew. And as we entered there, our troops we were told to stop at drop our kit at the Parabat's base. As we dropped there, it was just, you putties, or you are, you lovers of black troops, car putties, I said, hey, what is your problem? Just let us now, we have to go and do the briefing at Fort Ref, get a briefing, and these guys just want to attack us and our troops. I said, look, guys, just wait. When we come back, we'll sort this thing out. Got there, and yes, the captain of those bats, he was Johan Blow, Captain Johan Blow, the brother of Henny Blow, and all these recce's. And then they briefed us. They said we must do a reconnaissance on Kahama in that area. And while we do the reconnaissance on the way back, we must lay mines on the routes, and then we will exfiltrate or infiltrate into Ipupa Falls. There was a base there. They reckon it was a company base. But we have to go in, attack that, and destroy the base. So we were very, very heavily loaded. I think each one in the team had to carry a landmine and half a kg of P4 and extra water. It's desert. That's desert there. So the first thing on our minds was, what are we going to do? Our troops, they're sitting outside there. And I said to Oppies, don't we need a group on standby there? We need to have a tactical HQ as well. And they will, if there's a search and a rescue, and we decided, no, we want these bats, these parabats, and we want them now. They must deploy now so that they can reach Rundu or what is the Ruakana. They must reach Ruakana by road and be deployed there by the next morning. So we said to the that is our first requirement. Those bats must be out of here in a few hours and set up our tactical HQ there. They agreed. When we came out of that briefing and whatever, there was no more bats there. They already left. So then we prepared in peace for the operation. We flew to Ruakana, and from there we infiltrated. So yeah, the bats hated us. And 6 months later, we were doing the bat course there, and they had another surprise party for us, welcoming. But anyhow, that's another story. So after this, Recce, there was not it wasn't actually a reconnaissance, because what happened is you have to have comms. If you don't have comms, your operation is compromised, or you have to return to your RV, a pickup RV. If you don't have comms for 48 hours, operation cancelled. So after, in that period, Oppies was doing the western side. He didn't have comms, and we in the mountains, very hard. On the way coming back, we started planting the mines on the roads, and just after smoke break, we were going to meet up with Oppies at the river and then go attack the base at Ikupa. And just got out from the smoke break or the rest, and I walked and I looked back, and I couldn't see my gunner, my C. Paulo. He was having, handling the PKM, and I stopped. We went back, we looked for Paulo, we can't find Paulo. And now we rattle, because, hey, we didn't hear anyone, we didn't see anyone, and he's gone. We were worried. I just kept looking back the whole time. And we met up with Oppies by the river, and Oppies already established comms, five comms. And I get there, I said, but Oppies, why? There was no comms during the infiltration. So we rattled. Apparently it was because of all the iron and the minerals and, you know, the heat. So we made comms, and they said, okay, just do your last operation, attack and destroy. And in that time, here comes Paulo with his PKM. And what happened after the smoke break, he had a huge cramp, you know, walking downhill all the time. He had that cramp, and he just collapsed, passed out, and when he woke up, he just followed us. So we were very happy. And anyhow, so we did the operation. There was no one in the base, just the old Uvahimba. You know, the Uvahimbas, they use cow dung and copper and polished them. And he was just lying there in one of the houses when we attacked. He was actually sleeping. So we asked him, where's the enemy? my sergeant then, Mike Kiley, was very dark-skinned. And for that operation, he said he's not wearing black is beautiful. So now here's this old cattle or hurdler, and we ask him, where's the enemy? And he looks at Mike and he says, there's the enemy. Because Mike looked like a Cuban. Now we rattle. He says, he doesn't like that enemy. He wants to come back to Southwest Africa with us. So yes, in the end, we picked him up and he went out with us. That was the end. We blew up the rest of that base and we exfiltrated. I think then I went for my second leave. And when we came back, we heard that we have a new commander by the name of Willem Ratte. Okay, but old Willem Ratte was really, you know, a bonus, because for the first time now, we could work with a proper leader. I wouldn't say France was not the proper leader, but we had a structured leadership where you can't have a leader when they are all on the same level of the team, because France had to be the OC and the team leader, and that's not good. But anyhow, Willem also had his ideas, new tactics. He came with a few guys from the companies, and yeah, we sort of did training together. He learned us a lot of new things, and then one thing we definitely did, initially we didn't infiltrate more than 50 kilometers. And I think that was decided by Special Forces. The second year we started infiltrating more, up to even more than 100 kilometers into Angola. So yeah, our area of operations became bigger and wider. Then we also did some more specialized reconnaissance. But, you know, Koos, on a less senior or serious side, I quite like the humor you have in the army, you know. One day we were having a break, came back after operation where we were after SWAPO special units, the SUs. I think it was in Okatali, Chongwe. So we didn't achieve any success there, but we know we were chasing them. So we came back and we had a sort of a rest time, and the next moment, France, outside the Mahoney base, as you come in by the road, there's a borehole and a dam and a tank, or the pump house. So the guys used to stand on top of the pump house and then jump into the swimming pool. So a guy came with a full kit with rice camis on, and he came, and Frans Fourie and the other guys were standing on top of the pump house. And the next moment, this guy was a terrorist. And he just came and he said, Boer, Boer, don't moor me, don't moor me. And Frans told him, said, hey, go inside the basement, don't come and bother us here. So he walked straight into the base and we were playing volleyball. And again, the guy says, Boer, Boer, many moor. And I looked at my team buddies. That's not my troop. It's not their troops. And we tackled the guy and took his weapon from him. And we realized he was a medic. And he was from that special unit. And the next moment, we found 90 rand in his pocket hidden somewhere. Now, 90 rand is a lot of money. It's 3 months bush pay. So we got that and we took the guy to Willem Ratte. Now, Willem, he's not a social guy. So he grabbed this man and he couldn't be happier because he started interrogating him. So immediately, Willem is planning now. Money, it was midday and we opened the bar. And I promise you, I think we drank for 2 days on that money, but it was nice. And the next moment, I think after 3 days, because this terrorist gave himself up, there was a deal. At that time, you will probably know that if you hand in your weapon, you get 500 or 1,500. For a mine, so much. And then they also give you a lot of other. So a small aircraft arrived from Ondango again. And because this guy's given over, he was paid that money. And right there at the aircraft, he said, no. That's not all. You see, but that's the deal. He said, no, those men there, they took my 90 rand. I wanted 90 rand back. Oh, we hated that man. We said, no, never ever will we take, refugees or people. So, yeah, it was quite hilarious, but anyhow. After this, we did some operations. Actually, 2 operations. France already explained his side on Calais. And then we had the same operation on the same area, all on the Kavango River. So this demanded a lot of rehearsal with klepper kayaks, and it was the first time we ever did sort of river ops and kayaks, etc. So it was also the first time we were only whites in the teams. I think with France it was Piet van Eeden, Eben Swanepoel, Thabo Marais, and a few other guys. And our team, it was Zach Tiens Marais, myself, Eric Rabi, and Kevin Sido, and then we had a guide, Manuel Gaspar. Now, Manuel Gaspar, his claim was that he was Portuguese commando, and apparently he blew up the Russian embassy in Lisbon and he was jailed for that in 1975. But he came down and he worked with us. But he was sort of a games expert, but he blew his hamstring up because we warned him, don't carry debts in your pockets, you know. And well, anyhow, so Manuel claimed he knows the Rico so well. The Rico is halfway between Buffalo and Rundu. He knows the base well. He was there in 1975, but now it's 5 years later. And things were not the same. It was not the same enemy. It was still friendly enemies. So anyhow, we rehearsed, and our task was to do snatch and grab operations. And you know, I don't think Special Forces has ever done that. And if they don't want to do it, we don't have a choice. If they tell you to do it. So that was about 2 weeks rehearsals, and now we're gonna do it. And so anyhow, I was the gunner for that operation, also the third in command, and I prepared a RPD. And RPD is a very, very effective, and I think there's nothing faster than rounds per minute like an RPD. And for the role we're going to use it inside an urban area, it's even better. So what I did, instead of the drum setup, someone taught me how to tune the working parts, and then I had a small backpack, canvas one, where I had 10 belts linked onto, so it was about 1,400 ammo. And it was nice, just unstrap the bag and it lied there. So anyhow, we infiltrated, and we were going to get a guy out of the jail there from the HQ. And as we reached there, it was Zach, myself, Tiens, and Manuel. It was in the main road, and we laid down, and the next moment a shot rang, and they shot Manuel right next to me. And it was a ricochet, but it hit him in the forearm, and he started shouting and crying. And I said, Manuel, keep quiet, please. Well, it's strange, but how can you keep quiet? Then the enemy speak to us and say, who are you? And Manuel, because he's Portuguese, he said, no, we are patrol, we're just coming back. And the next moment, they shot him again. They said, you lie. We don't have any patrols. So there you go. So then I said, guys, get this guy out of here. And the next moment, about 200 AKs started cocking, and you could hear them all around us. So I just said to Zach and Tiens, get this guy out. I will give cover, but if I have to go, I'm not taking him with. And the other problem was Eric Rabi and Kevin Sider was in the other street almost a block away. So they didn't know what's going on here. So, and you know, if you make comms there, they pick you up. So the next moment, I think they were about 20 meters from me, and I just let loose with that big RPK or RPD. Yeah, and the street was 2 lanes, and there's a island in the middle. So I thought, you know, after my first burst, I'll come and take cover on the lane and then shoot again. And then there's houses, cover there again. But as I left there, going across the street, I could see how they hit the building here. And I could see they were shooting for me. So I decided, no more cover. And I just got past, got to the emergency RV. There was nobody there. Then we had an alternative, and I got Zach and Tians there. And the other guys, they haven't come yet. So we waited. The next moment, I think after half an hour, Eric Rabi came on. He said, guys, we still here. And by now, Jim Ross, he was Foxtrot Company commander. He was on the other side of the river, like a TAC HQ. And he was saying, hey, Steve, what's going on? He said, just wait. And he called for Willem Ratte and Frans to come and, because they already did their operation at Calais and it was a success. So we had problems. So France and them were on their way from Rundu to come and help. But luckily, after about half an hour, Eric got out there. They used a lot of HE grenades and white phos, but managed to get all back. Otherwise, that would have been a huge success for the enemy. We got back in Rundu. I don't even think there was a briefing done. They just told us, go take leave. We were sent for 1 week. So then a big, on that flight, for the first time I met our intelligence officer. He was a Captain Erasmus. And he flew with us, his wife and his kid. And, you know, just chatted with him. And for the first time we met and he knew what. So on the flight back, he was on the flight as well. As we got to Rundu, they said, guys, they need you at Mahoney. We must all go. Now, I owe everyone. So in that period of the leave, a new task came up. And it came from INT, from CSI. And specifically, at that stage, he was a commandant, Marius Ulsig. I know him for a very long period. And Willem already was infiltrated, again with Kleppers. It was a river ops. And the target was Savate. So I I think there was already 3 companies waiting in Mahoney. It was Alpha Company, Charlie, and Foxtrot, I think. So we got there. These guys were ready, and Commandant Dion Ferreira came. He did the ops, the orders in the mess, and just said, look guys, we're gonna attack these people because they are in their relief, the relief in the line, and we're just gonna do it quickly and then give the area to UNITA. But that wasn't so easy. The first thing, Willem had problems during the recce. First, they dropped him too far off, as they did with us as well. And then I think there was problem with the comms. Willem lost the radio in the river. So, yeah. Anyhow, we just kept on advancing, and the recce group led in the main force past the airstrip, and then we moved to north for to lay ambushes as stopper groups. So yes, the attack happened. I've never experienced so much fire, and I can say 2 days full on battle, and it was, you know, it was trenches. I don't think 3-2 Battalion ever had such a huge battle, and that's why we have a Savate reunion and a Memorial Day every year. 15 of our men lost there. I know there was many hundreds killed, but yeah, after Savate, we came back, and I think we were still prepping or relaxing in the base, and a Dakota arrived and said we must pack. And I think it was a few days after Savate. We said, but where to now? No, to Bloemspruit. We are going to do the parachute course. But Koos, we never prepared. We didn't do PT, or we were just bush fit. So we thought, you know, what now? We'll just have to go. At least on the way, we convinced the pilots, but only the initial recce group went. Willem would come after the PT phase with our troops, and we convinced the pilots, please, can we just fly to Waterkloof? And some of we have family, we at least want to get our vehicles, you know. To get stranded there in Bloemfontein without transport, it's not nice. So anyhow, we got him convinced and flew to Waterkloof. And that Sunday we were going to meet at the Bloem Sun or whatever. As we got there, oh, another surprise party, and these parabats were just into us. But we had beards and long hair, and Johnny Kiesig, that Sergeant Major, he he hated us. And we were told not to wear our berets, and we slept with the NCOs and, but anyhow, we did the PT course. I think only 2 of our guys failed the PT course. And then Willem Ratte came with the troops, and now it's going to be the jumping phase or hanger phase or whatever. So, yeah, at one stage, the hanger commander was a later years a very good colleague of mine. He was Major Wouter Higu, the training wing commander. And he worked with me in CSI for many years later, together with Colonel Blow. But after the first PT phase, that first weekend, he said to us, "You guys just go. Take weekend leave. I'll take care of your troops." And it was 16th of June, so it's Soweto Day, and there's always conflicts and uprisings and that. So apparently, I don't know which location, but there was problem around Bloemfontein, and they sent in the infantry, and there was the armored guys and the parabats. They couldn't, and then Wouter said, come, that Recce group, they sent in the Recce group, and it was within hours solved, came back, and everyone was happy. So when I came back, Wouter said to me, we used your guys quickly, but it's fine now. So yeah, it was nice to hear that even in 1980 we already did some urban in South Africa, but they were never allowed to wear their berets or whatever. And I will put the para course. I think there's 2 photos. The one is not official, so there's no names, and the other one is just the national servicemen and the guys who did the PT course. And there you will see the names, but I will send it to you. Anyhow, of course, I'm almost to the end. Yes, after the para course, the Recce group was basically disbanded by Willem, and he started restructuring a new thing. And it's strange, many of the troops also left for the companies. And then a signal was sent to me that I must go to Delta Company and temporarily take over from Julius, who went on a course, quite a long course. So I went with my Sergeant Gavin Mond, and it was another phase where, even with a small team, you've got quite a lot of responsibility, but with the company, it's just a lot of people. So we infiltrated the night before. We infiltrated. Witkop Barnes came there, or it was the morning. But we always drink a lot before an operation, especially rum and coke. And that morning, Wittkop Barnos walked into our tents and he asked me, how many? And I said, but how many? What do you mean, Brigadier? He said, don't be stupid. How many? I said, how many what? He says, how many heads? I said, Brigadier, I can't tell you how many heads. You know, it depends on the success, the operation. Yeah, well, and he grabbed one of my lieutenants and he asked him the same. And this guy said, no, 60, because he worked on normal ops and that. And Wittkop said, okay, you're not coming out before 60 heads. I said to the lieutenant, I said, no, man, never do that. So we infiltrated. It's, it's 2 choppers, 2 for top cover, and we flew in with 4, and then it's another 4 coming in, and another, and I had a lot of ex-roadies from Rhodesia that time, and they started. They wanted to make caches. You know, I said, no, we're not doing caches. We're not in Rhodesia. Anyhow, we landed, and you have to switch off your radio during the flight, and obviously no bullet in the barrel, and magazine off, and as we went out, you could hear the choppers had a contact, but close, like 500 meters from us. And then I realized I switched my radio on, bullet in the chamber, and off we went. And I think we took out the whole leader group with their radios, Tokarev pistols and everything. So that Lieutenant Gavin, he came to me and he said, you know, next week we'll be by 60 and then we're back. I said, no. Then we waited, because now everyone's scattered. Their leaders are killed. They are now scattered. And it took us weeks before we got something again. And anyhow, a long story short, but I think we stayed in the bush for that op more than almost 16 weeks, 15 weeks or so. But we got our 60. In fact, it was nice. Later on, Major James Hills was then a 5-2 battalion commander. He took over from Chris Serfontein. And I said to him, listen, just send some of my platoons while nothing is happening during the rat run, when they fly in rations, take our people out so that they can rest. So that helped a lot. And then they also served as a standby or reaction force if we had problems. So that worked quite okay. Then when Julius came back, I went to Mahoney, and then I got a signal from Rundu that I will be sent on detached duties to, I think it's 8 to Uppington. And there I will train a new concept, which was called the Battalion HQ Platoon. In Afrikaans, it's Battalion HK Peloton. It's almost like a Recce group thing. So at Uppington, I met with, I think it was a Commandant Mulder. He was the OC. And then I was sent to Rimfasmark, which is 8-time training area. And we started with the training there immediately. I had some guys from the Bats, Henry Stein. He was also in my, he was an instructor on my para course. And then Chris Skutte, former Recce, he was the RSM then. So that's about it. And then by the end of 80, it was time to clear out and to start my studies. And yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. But then in the next episode, I think we must touch on the intelligence side, CSI. And I want to talk, yeah, it's not about the war. Yeah, it's about the other war and all the implications. And also we'll talk a lot about Colonel Jan Reitenbach, the man, and how much, he meant for me in my career and also even up to today. So thank you very much for the time. And I hope I didn't bother you or bore you. So we'll speak next week then, Koos. Thank you very much.
Colonel, thank you. I must say to you, I was listening here all the time and I thought to myself, wow, I'm just, sometimes we sit here and we never get bored. I just want to say, but this went past in 5 minutes, even though we were talking almost 2 hours. Then I want to know from you, sir, what does CSI stands for? There's a lot of people out here who might not know, what you're talking about.
Yes, CSI course is Chief of Staff Intelligence. But Chief of Staff Intelligence is actually the general, he's the head. But it's better if we should actually name it military intelligence, because that is the staff function of the army. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. Would that be the same as Russian military intelligence, GRU? Would that be roughly the same?
Yes, but inside you have your 3 branches, like normal int. We use it for operations, and then you have counterintelligence. You have covert intelligence, and then with us, we slotted more in with special tasks. Our directorate was Directorate of Special Tasks, which was run by the by intelligence. And yes, it was an operation, intelligence operations.
Okay, we're going to talk about them in the next episode quite a bit, and I'm really grateful because it's a shadowy war. We know nothing about it. But I want to take you back, sir, to the infantry school in Oudtshoorn, where you said you had an instructor with the name of Ora. And this Ora got sent to DB for 2 years. What did he actually do to the troop? But they acted so badly on him.
Well, he gave him hard PT, fire buckets with the sand in. And I think the guy, how do you call, it was overheated or whatever, and then he sort of passed out, and then he laid in complaint, and but Ure later joined 3-2 Battalion after his DB sentence. He was a mortarist at 3-2 Battalion in the 80s.
Yeah, that reminds me, I still want to speak to Johan Anderson or someone. I think he was also a motorist, but we missed each other. I don't know how. Johan, if you're listening here, please contact us. I was just saying this to someone else about a week ago. Guys, if we don't come back to you, forgive me. There's a lot of you. Contact me again. Be like a gatvlieg or something, you know. Just come back. Don't think we're ignoring you. We will never ignore you. But sometimes, you know, it's just not possible. It's interesting to me that you talk about the way that the Bats were treating you regarding your black members or Portuguese members, because I've read somewhere that in the beginning, 3-2 Battalion was referred to as Jan Breitendag Scaffers. Forgive me for saying that word. I don't believe in saying that word, but that's how they were known. You were there right in the early phases. You still had that feeling that, you know, you're working with black men and therefore you're not sort of welcome anywhere else?
Of course, you know, it's quite ironic because the Bats during Bravo Group, the main source of the leaders came from the Bats, the permanent force Bats, and guys from infantry school like Radis and them. Now, I mean, yes, the Recces actually, they were the first group that started the Bravo Group. So they are the founders of 3-2 Battalion. And the Bats came in to help. And even I think Johan Blau was one of those groups. And he even did the Portuguese para courses and stuff like that. But I think where the problem lies is the national servicemen at that level, because they don't think they're not professional soldiers. So you know, they just do things by instinct. So yeah, and let me tell you, a lot of the Bats, even if we looked at the Pathfinders, which was the Recce group of the Bats, a lot of them joined 3-2 Battalion's Recce group. People like Andre Nel passed away, and a lot of them, Koenraad, Rickert, a lot of people joined the Bats. They said they were bored to hell at the parachute battalion.
This reminds me that I think that Swart Aunt you were talking about, Serfontein, isn't it? He later became an officer commanding of Special Forces, if I remember correctly. Is that the same person we're talking about?
Yes, Swart Aunt, he was Chris. I'm not sure about the Special Forces. Then that must have been after General Les Ratman, but yeah, it might have been. But I know he was a Major General.
Yeah, we stand corrected.
Hang on. And I think his son is a Special Forces operator, also Chris. So that could be his son.
Yeah, I stand corrected. If I'm wrong, please forgive me once again. And of course, the Blaubraves is the dreadful Blaubraves. Some were Special Forces, all of them came from the Bats. They're wonderful people, though. We had some of them here. The last question for you, sir. How long does minor tactics last? The training on minor tactics for 3-2 Recce Wing. How long does that take?
I think we had a sort of a shortened course, but not this, like Frans said, the standard was there was nothing wrong with the standard, but ours was a month, if I can remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, all the Special Forces members said to me there were no difference whatsoever between 3-2 and 3-1 Recce and Swa Recce and themselves, except the distances which you operated from, which were different. The standards were exactly the same type of people. And I think this Tony Vieira, well, he became famous. I believe he became very famous in Special Forces. So it's fascinating to me how the same names keep on coming up. You know, I really love this because this means that you say something, they say something, someone else says something. And for us who were not there, we're in a privileged position then to put everything together. And for the rest of us, we can get a clear picture in our heads. So I thank you for that, Colonel, so much. Thank you. I really enjoyed the story. And next week, yes, we're going on